Have you ever wished you could speak English confidently, without hesitation, without fear? I know that feeling very well. There was a time when I struggled with every single English word. Every sentence felt like climbing a mountain. But then, something changed. I discovered a way to practice English every single day, in small steps, in easy ways. And it completely transformed my life. And in this episode, I'm going to share my journey with you. Welcome to the English Diary podcast. My early struggles with English. When I first started learning English, I thought it was impossible. I grew up in an environment where English was not spoken around me. My friends, my family, my neighbors, almost everyone spoke in our local language. English was only inside school books, in exams, or in TV shows that I could barely understand. At first, I thought English was just about memorizing words. I tried to learn long vocabulary lists. I wrote them down, repeated them, but when I had to speak, my mind went blank. I would freeze. I couldn't connect words into sentences. I remember one day in school, the teacher asked me to read a passage aloud. My hands started shaking. My throat went dry. I could hear my classmates giggling in the background. I mispronounced many words, and I felt so embarrassed. That day, I promised myself, one day, I will speak English confidently. One day, I will use English like it's a natural part of me. But that promise was not easy to keep. The fear of speaking. The biggest challenge I had was fear. Whenever someone asked me a question in English, my heart would start racing. Even if I knew the answer, I stayed quiet. I worried, what if I make a mistake? What if they laugh at me? This fear held me back for years. It made me avoid conversations. I preferred staying silent instead of trying. But silence never teaches you anything. I realized that unless I tried, unless I practiced every day, nothing would change. The turning point. One small incident changed my entire perspective. I was at a railway station, and a tourist came to me asking for directions in English. For a few seconds, I stood there confused. Then, somehow, I managed to say, "Go straight," then left. The tourist smiled and said, "Thank you." It was such a small conversation, just a few words. But it gave me a strange confidence. I realized, I don't need to be perfect to speak English. I just need to be understood. That moment became my turning point. From that day, I decided I will practice English every day, no matter how small the step. First steps. So, how did I begin? I started small. I spoke simple sentences to myself, like, I am eating, I am walking, I am studying. I practiced greetings like, hello, how are you? I looked at objects around me and named them in English. This is a chair. That is a table. It felt silly at first. Talking to myself in English sounded strange. But slowly, I got used to it. My mouth, my tongue, my brain, they started getting comfortable with English sounds. I also started watching English cartoons and simple shows. At first, I didn't understand everything, but I kept listening. I didn't worry about grammar or meaning. I just wanted my ears to hear English every day. Small wins. Every little success gave me encouragement. The first time I ordered food in English at a small restaurant, I felt proud. The first time I introduced myself to a stranger in English, I felt a spark of confidence. The first time I understood an English joke without translation, I laughed with joy. These small wins pushed me forward. I realized that English practice is not about one big step. It's about tiny daily actions that build up over time. Building consistency. At this stage, the most important thing I learned was consistency. Practicing English once a week didn't help me. Practicing every day, even for 10 minutes, made a huge difference. I set a rule for myself, no day without English. It didn't matter how busy I was. Maybe I read one English paragraph. Maybe I watched a 5-minute video. Maybe I wrote a small diary entry. But I did something every single day. This daily consistency started building my confidence, slowly but surely. So, part 1 of my journey is about struggles, fear, and first steps. I was not confident. I made mistakes. I was scared. But once I decided to practice every single day, no matter how small, everything started to change. And in the next part, I will tell you exactly how I built daily habits step by step, habits that anyone can follow. Stay with me, because this is the English Diary podcast, and we are just getting started. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. You don't need to spend 10 hours in one day learning English. But if you spend just 20 minutes every day, your growth will surprise you. In this part, I'll share the exact daily habits I created, step by step, to practice English. Welcome back to the English Diary podcast. The power of routine. Once I decided that I would practice English every single day, the question was, how? I couldn't spend hours with expensive tutors. I didn't have access to native speakers around me. But I had something powerful, time in small pockets. So I built routines around my daily life. Morning, afternoon, evening, each part of my day had a small English activity. These small habits became my secret weapon. Morning habit. Starting the day with English. The first habit was simple. Start my morning with English. As soon as I woke up, I avoided checking social media or random videos. Instead, I read one short English article or listen to one English podcast. Sometimes it was news, sometimes a motivational story, sometimes a short YouTube clip. Even if I didn't understand everything, I trained my brain to connect morning with English. I also created a ritual. Every morning, I spoke 5 simple sentences out loud about my day. For example, today is Monday. I will go to work. The weather is sunny. I feel good. I will practice English today. These were not advanced sentences, but they set the tone for the day. My mind was now awake in English. Afternoon habit, English in daily life. In the afternoon, I often felt tired or distracted. So I built light habits that didn't feel like study. I labeled objects around me in English. Door, window, bottle, phone. Whenever I saw them, I repeated their names. Slowly, my vocabulary grew. If I was traveling, I listened to English songs or audio lessons. Instead of just enjoying the music, I tried to catch words, repeat lyrics, and sometimes even sing along. And when I had lunch or tea, I practiced small conversations in my head. Can I have some water? I like this food. It is delicious. I am full now. These mini conversations may sound silly, but they made English feel like part of my normal life. Evening habit, focused practice. Evening was my golden practice time. After finishing my day, I sat with a notebook and phone for 20 to 30 minutes. This was my focused learning session. Here's what I did. Writing diary. I wrote 5 to 10 sentences about my day in English. Example, I went to the market today. I bought vegetables. I talked to my friend on the phone. Over time, these small sentences became longer stories. Shadowing technique. I played an English video or podcast, paused after every sentence, and repeated it. This improved my pronunciation and rhythm. Speaking practice. I spoke in front of the mirror for 5 minutes. Sometimes I introduced myself. Sometimes I explained a topic. Sometimes I just talked about random things. The goal was simple. Speak, even if no one is listening. This evening routine gave me structure. I wasn't just hoping to improve English, I was actually training every day. Habit of reading. Reading became a powerful habit in my journey. At first, I couldn't read novels or long books. So I started with children's stories and simple English blogs. Whenever I read, I didn't translate every word. I focused on understanding the main idea. If a word repeated many times, I looked it up. Slowly, my reading habit grew stronger. And the best part? Reading gave me new vocabulary naturally. Words started appearing in my conversations without me memorizing them. Habit of listening. Listening was my daily background habit. I didn't always sit and focus on listening. Sometimes, I just played English audio while doing chores, washing dishes, cleaning, walking. At first, it sounded like noise. But after weeks, I started catching phrases. then sentences, then complete ideas. My ears adjusted to English. One powerful tip I discovered was listening to the same audio again and again. The first time, I understood very little. The second time, I got more. By the fifth time, I could almost repeat sentences. Habit of speaking. Speaking was the hardest habit. I didn't always have a partner to practice with, so I created my own system. Self-talk. I described what I was doing. I am brushing my teeth. I am wearing my shirt. I am leaving the house. Mirror practice. I looked at myself in the mirror and spoke as if I was talking to someone. This reduced my fear. Voice recording. I recorded my voice on my phone and listened. At first, I hated how I sounded. But gradually, I improved pronunciation and confidence. Habit of writing. Writing was my silent teacher. I didn't just write diary entries. I also wrote short WhatsApp messages to myself, short notes on my phone, or even small social media captions in English. Writing forced me to slow down, think about grammar, and build sentences. Over time, I noticed that my speaking improved too, because writing trained my brain to form sentences quickly. Tiny habits that made a big difference. Some of the smallest habits gave me the biggest results. Changing my phone language to English. Using Google in English. Watching one English video daily with subtitles. Asking myself questions in English. What am I doing? What will I do next? These micro habits added up. They made English part of my lifestyle, not just a subject to study. The secret ingredient? Enjoyment. Here's something important. I didn't treat English like a punishment. I treated it like a friend. I chose topics I loved: movies, sports, travel, music. When I read or listened about my interests, I forgot that I was studying. Learning became fun. And when something is fun, you never quit. So in this part, I shared how I built daily habits step by step. Morning rituals, afternoon mini practices, evening focused learning, plus reading, listening, speaking, and writing habits. None of them were huge, but together, they created magic. And in the next part, I'll take you deeper into the 4 pillars of English practice: listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and show you exactly how I use them every day. Stay tuned, because this is the English Diary podcast, and the journey continues. If English is like a house, then it has 4 strong pillars: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. If one pillar is weak, the whole house becomes shaky. But when all 4 grow together, your English becomes strong, confident, and natural. In this part, I'll share how I practiced each pillar every day, step by step. Welcome back to the English Diary podcast. Listening, training my ears. Listening was my first priority, because I realized that before a child speaks, they listen for years. So I wanted to give my ears as much English as possible. At first, English sounded too fast. People on TV or YouTube spoke like they were running a race. I caught only a few words like hello, thank you, yes, no. Everything else felt like noise. But I didn't give up. I started with cartoons and kids' shows. The language was slow and simple. English songs. I tried to read lyrics and sing along. Podcasts and audiobooks. I played them while walking or doing chores. One powerful method I used was repetition. I listened to the same 5-minute clip many times. The first time, I caught only 10%. The second time, maybe 30%. By the 5th or 6th time, I could almost repeat sentences word for word. I also used subtitles. First, I watched with subtitles to understand. Then, I rewatched without subtitles to train my ears. Slowly, my listening improved. One day, I realized I could understand English movies without reading subtitles. That was a magical moment. Speaking, finding my voice. Speaking was the scariest pillar for me. My tongue felt heavy, my words got stuck, and I was afraid of mistakes. But I knew, without speaking, English would never become natural. So I created my own speaking routine. Self-talk. I described everything I was doing. I am cooking rice. I am washing clothes. I am going to the shop. It was simple, but powerful. Mirror practice. I stood in front of the mirror, looked into my own eyes, and spoke like I was talking to a friend. This reduced my fear. Role play. I imagined situations. Ordering food, asking for directions, introducing myself. I spoke both parts of the conversation. Voice recording. I recorded myself on my phone. At first, I hated how I sounded. But by listening back, I corrected my mistakes and improved my pronunciation. One golden lesson I learned. Fluency is not about speaking fast. Fluency is about speaking without fear. Once I accepted my mistakes, my confidence grew. Reading, feeding my mind. Reading gave me vocabulary, grammar, and ideas. But I didn't start with difficult novels. I started with simple, short texts. Children's books, they had easy words and pictures. English blogs and short articles, they were practical and modern. News apps, just 1 or 2 articles a day. My strategy was simple. First, read without stopping. Try to understand the main idea. Second, underline new words. Third, use those words in my own sentences. For example, when I learned the word delicious, I started saying, this food is delicious. My tea is delicious. The mango is delicious. Using the word in daily life made it stick. Over time, I challenged myself with novels. At first, I understood only 60%. But I kept reading, and slowly, 60 became 80, then 100. Reading not only improved my English, it also opened my mind to new worlds and ideas. Writing, sharpening my skills. Writing was the quietest pillar, but maybe the strongest. Because writing gave me time to think, to form sentences, and to practice grammar. I started with a daily diary. Every evening, I wrote 5 to 10 sentences about my day. I went to the market today. I met my friend. We ate samosas together. At first, the sentences were short and simple. But with time, they became longer stories. Today, I went to the market with my friend. We bought vegetables. And then we sat at a small shop to eat samosas. We laughed a lot and enjoyed the food. I also practiced social media captions in English. For example, if I posted a photo, I wrote, beautiful sunset today, or had a great day with friends. These small posts gave me confidence to use English publicly. Another useful trick was WhatsApp practice. I created a group with only myself, and I typed short messages in English every day. It became my personal practice space. Balancing the 4 pillars. The biggest challenge was not practicing one pillar too much and forgetting the others. So I created a simple rule. Every day, touch all 4 pillars. Listen at least 10 minutes. Speak at least 5 minutes. Read at least 1 paragraph. Write at least 3 sentences. This balance made my English grow in all directions. Listening improved my understanding. Speaking improved my confidence. Reading gave me vocabulary. Writing gave me accuracy. Small but powerful examples. Here are some examples of how I combine the pillars in daily life. I listened to a podcast, listening, repeated sentences, speaking, read the transcript, reading, and wrote a short summary in my diary, writing. I watched a movie with subtitles, listening plus reading, spoke about it in front of the mirror, speaking, and wrote a review in my notebook, writing. I read an article, reading, underline new words, use them in my self-talk, speaking, and type them into my WhatsApp practice group, writing. These small but powerful combinations made my practice more effective. The transformation. When I started, my English was broken, full of pauses, and limited to very basic words. But by touching all 4 pillars every day, I built a strong foundation. I remember one day I met a tourist again, just like years ago at the railway station. But this time, the conversation flowed naturally. I didn't freeze. I smiled, answered his questions, and even asked him about his journey. That moment showed me how far I had come. So, in this part, we explored the 4 pillars of English practice: listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and how I use them every single day. Each pillar played a unique role, and together they created a powerful balance. In the next part, I'll share the mistakes I made, the challenges I faced, and most importantly, how I overcame them. Because every journey has obstacles, and English learning is no different. Stay tuned, because this is the English Diary podcast, and the journey continues. Every journey has bumps, every story has struggles. My English learning journey was full of mistakes, embarrassing moments, and times when I felt like giving up. But here's the truth. Mistakes are not failures. They're lessons in disguise. In this part, I'll tell you about the mistakes I made, the challenges I faced, and how I overcame them. Welcome back to the English Diary podcast. Mistake 1. Focusing only on grammar. In the beginning, I thought grammar was everything. I spent hours memorizing tenses, rules, and exceptions. But when I tried to speak, I froze. I was busy thinking, is this past tense? Should I use has or have? The result? Silence. I realized later that grammar is important, but not at the cost of communication. So I changed my approach. Instead of chasing perfection, I focused on speaking simple, correct sentences. For example, instead of worrying about I had a 10 versus I have a 10, I just said, I ate food. The meaning was clear. Once I accepted this, my confidence grew. Grammar became my tool, not my prison. Mistake 2. Fear of making mistakes. For years, I avoided speaking because I was scared of being wrong. But avoiding practice was the biggest mistake of all. One day, I asked myself, when a child learns to walk, do we laugh when they fall? No, we cheer them on. So why should I be ashamed when I fall in English? I started treating every mistake as a teacher. If someone corrected me, I thanked them. If no one corrected me, I corrected myself later. This mindset shift, mistakes are learning, not shame, changed everything. Mistake 3. Comparing myself to others. Sometimes I looked at fluent speakers and thought, I will never reach their level. Comparison made me feel small and discouraged. But then I realized, everyone has their own journey. Some people learn faster, some slower. What matters is progress, not speed. So instead of comparing myself to others, I started comparing myself to my past self. Yesterday, I knew 10 words. Today, I know 20. Last month, I couldn't introduce myself. Today, I can. That is growth. Challenge 1. No speaking partner. One of the biggest challenges was not having anyone to practice with. My friend spoke in our local language. I didn't know any native speakers. So how could I practice? My solution was creativity. I practiced with myself. Mirror, self-talk, recordings. I also used apps and online platforms where I could connect with learners around the world. It wasn't easy, but it taught me something powerful. Your biggest partner is yourself. If you are willing, you can practice anywhere, anytime. Challenge 2. Lack of confidence. Even when I knew the words, my confidence was low. I worried about my accent, my speed, my mistakes. To overcome this, I started with small victories. I ordered tea in English. I asked for directions in English. I introduced myself to strangers in English. Each small success was like a brick building my confidence wall. Slowly, I stood taller, spoke clearer, and believed in myself more. Challenge 3. Limited vocabulary. In the beginning, I knew only basic words: eat, go, good, bad. My sentences sounded like a child's. To fix this, I didn't just memorize long word lists. I used the context method. Learn a word. Use it in 3 different sentences. Repeat it in self-talk. For example, when I learned the word excited, I said, I'm excited to learn English. I'm excited to watch the movie. I'm excited to meet my friend. This way, the word became part of my active vocabulary. Challenge 4. Losing motivation. There were days when I felt stuck. No progress, no improvement, just frustration. I thought about quitting. What helped me? Motivation through stories. I read about people who learned English later in life. I watched videos of learners like me. I reminded myself why I started: to communicate, to grow, to connect with the world. I also celebrated small wins. If I understood one new word today, that was progress. If I spoke one new sentence, that was victory. Motivation is not always about fire. It's about keeping the small light alive every day. Embarrassing moments. I'll be honest. Some of my mistakes were funny, even embarrassing. Once, at a shop, I wanted to say, "I want a sheet of paper." But instead, I said, "I want a ship of paper." The shopkeeper looked so confused. Another time, I told my teacher, "I am boring." I wanted to say, "I am bored." But instead, I called myself boring. Everyone laughed. In those moments, I felt embarrassed. But later, I laughed at myself too. And you know what? I never forgot those words again. How I overcame challenges. Here are the practical steps I used to overcome my struggles. Consistency over perfection. I practiced a little every day, even when I felt low. Celebrate small wins. One new word, one new sentence, one clear conversation. Create a safe space. I practiced alone before practicing with others. Learn through fun. I watched movies, listened to songs, read stories. Stay patient. Progress was slow, but steady. Lessons from my mistakes. Looking back, I'm grateful for every mistake and challenge. They taught me, don't fear grammar, use it. Don't fear mistakes, learn from them. Don't compare with others, compare with yourself. Don't quit when it's hard, keep going. Each challenge became a stepping stone. Each mistake became a teacher. Without them, I would not have grown. Closing of part 4. So in this part, we talked about the mistakes I made and the challenges I faced, from grammar obsession to lack of confidence, from no partners to embarrassing moments. But each problem had a solution, and each failure became a lesson. And now, in the final part, I'll share the results of my journey, the tips I recommend for learners, and the motivation to keep going. Stay tuned, because this is the English Diary podcast, and the best is yet to come. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that the language which once scared you now flows naturally from your mouth. Imagine watching a movie without subtitles, writing messages without hesitation, and speaking with strangers without fear. That's the result of practicing English every single day. In this final part, I'll share the results I achieved, the tips I recommend, and the motivation to keep your own journey alive. Welcome to the English Diary podcast. The results of daily practice. After months and years of practicing English every day, something magical happened. Listening, I could understand English conversations, songs, and movies without depending on subtitles. Speaking, I spoke with confidence. Not perfect, not native-like, but clear, natural, and fearless. Reading, I finished my first English novel without quitting halfway. Writing, I started writing emails, diary entries, and even short stories in English. The biggest result was not just language, it was confidence. English gave me a new voice, a new identity, and a new world to connect with. Practical tips for learners. If you want to practice English every day, here are my most practical tips. Start small, stay consistent. Don't wait for one big study session. Practice a little every day. Even 10 minutes daily is more powerful than 2 hours once a week. Use the 4 pillars daily. Touch all 4: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Balance creates fluency. Talk to yourself. Your best partner is you. Practice self-talk, mirror practice, and voice recordings. Celebrate mistakes. Don't hide from mistakes. Write them down, learn from them, and laugh about them. Make English fun. Watch your favorite shows, listen to music you enjoy, read topics you love. When learning is fun, it never feels like work. Surround yourself with English. Change your phone to English, use apps in English, write short notes in English. Create an English environment. even if you live where nobody speaks it. Track your progress. Compare yourself with your past self. Record your voice today, and again in 3 months, you'll hear the difference. Motivation to keep going. Here's something important. Learning English is not a 30-day challenge. It's a lifelong journey. Even today, I keep learning new words, new expressions, and new styles. So don't wait for perfection. Don't wait to be ready. Start where you are, with what you have, and practice every day. Remember, fluency is built, not gifted. Confidence is practiced, not natural. Progress is slow, but real. One day, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. Final words from my journey. English gave me more than just language. It gave me opportunities. Better education, better jobs, better connections with people around the world. It gave me confidence to express myself. But the truth is, none of this happened overnight. It happened because I made a decision, no day without English. And if I can do it, so can you. So, my friend, this was my complete journey, from struggles and fear to daily habits, to mastering the 4 pillars, overcoming challenges, and finally seeing real results. If there's one message I want you to remember, it's this. Why try pointing backhand index practice English every day, in small steps, with joy and with patience? Because one day, without even realizing it, you'll be living the dream you once thought was impossible. Thank you for joining me on this journey. This is the English Diary Podcast. Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and keep believing in yourself.